All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the pod. Grab a drink. This is your weekly dose of sports, where we'll break down and do a deep dive in all things sports. Whether you're a casual fan or a diehard, we're here to give you the hottest takes, the best, and all of the latest. I'm your host, Jalen Nicholson Bourne. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Even if you want to comment as well, we always do that as well. So we always appreciate that. Today we have on the show is Drew Best. He was the director of what was it, the Whitewater radio station.
Yeah, that'd be 91.7 The Edge, WSUW Whitewaters. Former sports director, worked into station manager, and now we're out in Green Bay as a news reporter.
All right, yeah. So we got our big man on the cast. We couldn't have Nolan Kapilowski. He wasn't able to join us today, but we'll get him on as soon as possible. I mean, hopefully there was an Amber Alert, so he had to probably go work that. And prayers out to the family of the person that was on the Amber Alert as well. So first, we're going to start off with the NBA doing another Ja investigation. So on Wednesday, the NBA was looking into Ja Morant using a finger gun motion toward the Golden State bench. Here's actually a picture of it. I just don't understand why he's doing all this now, but even even Shams reported on it yesterday, and let's get your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I guess just to start for this, we've already known the background of this, and I think that's honestly a key factor in why this is becoming more of a mainstream topic than it is, because I think there are certain players in the NBA that if they're doing this, not many people are very concerned about it. But I think just because of the history with Ja Morant, I think that's a big factor in this. But for me, it's just when you think about the NBA and like I said, that background, I think just looking into this aspect might be a little bit of an overreaction on the NBA's part. Obviously, they have the rightful reason to look into it, but I think that there have been more pressing issues on the court that are not as prevalent for the NBA or is not as seen by the NBA just because of I think the starstruck aspect, or I guess not the starstruck, but the fact that Ja Morant has been a star ever since he got into the league, and I think when you look at that aspect, I think that's the reason that they are trying to take care of this as soon as possible because of how mainstream this issue has been.
Well, you can really call this a spade a spade. Like, I don't think he ever really learned his lesson for real. What was he was suspended? What 50 games last season when he did that? And
He missed
he's
time.
always hurt a lot too. So he's hurt a lot of bit this season. So when you combine hurt and then you have gestures like this to where you might end up getting suspended another 10, 20 games, even though you might not be able to do much at the end of this season, you might have to end up putting it into the playoffs. So what does that mean for the Grizzlies in the playoffs? That's the key to me. Like, we see how they are without them. They're average, maybe mediocre at best, but with them they are a perennial playoff team and a perennial championship contender as well. So I don't think he's really learned his lesson. I really wish him the best, though. Even did he really grow up that way?
I mean, I think when I look at it, I guess to answer your first question about the team aspect, it's with him on the court, obviously he presents a different force or a different presence, and he makes everyone around him better. And it's one more person with who can put up 25 to 40 pretty much any night he wants to. But I think I mean in the past with him off the court, it hasn't even been like the Grizzlies have been awful. They've played pretty well without him, but I don't think that he should, as a result of this, miss any substantial time. So there's at least, I think, at the minimum, he would spend at least half a series in the playoffs. And I mean, this team on its own, I think, has the defensive presence to be able to at least get them to survive through maybe the first round. I mean, it kind of depends on how they're shooting, but I guess that's kind of up for April to decide.
I believe what are they like fourth in the West, third?
Yeah, I'd have to double
No, they're
check.
like eighth in the West. So that means they're in a playing tournament. So they can't really afford to lose him. Like They're going to be
Right.
playing either the Clip. They'll probably end up playing the Clippers the first round of the play-in tournament. If the season was to end today, they're 44-32. They have the same record, and Minnesota came from 8th place to now they're in 6th, so they've jumped 2 teams, and Golden State has jumped 2 teams as well. So it was really the Clippers and Memphis were the 5th and 6th seed, I believe. And now that you combine this incident again and him doing the gestures like he did last year on social media, even though he had a real gun on social media, um, that's going to loom large for them in the playoffs, especially if they don't even make it out of the play-in tournament. I mean, but they get automatic 2 games if they lose the first one, they get one more.
Yeah, and at that point, it's just I don't think that it's going to be John Morant who makes a huge difference in those games. I think that he's someone who they would need more for a spot in the actual first round of the NBA playoffs. I think that a lot of it is going to come down to just how well they're prepared defensively, as I mentioned before. And if I think that their upside will come from if they can explore more options with that offense. And that's exactly what John Morant is for them. And if he's obviously not on the court, that's going to be an issue. But I don't think that there's going to be anything done within this NBA season.
Yeah, that should be smart since the season is pretty much over in about 2 weeks. So we're going to jump into our next topic. We're going to have Jokic's case for MVP, and they took a gut punch loss to the Timberwolves in double overtime on Tuesday. We obviously did our pod that morning, so we obviously really didn't report on it, couldn't cover on it. So Jokic had a 61-point triple-double where he had 61 points, 10 rebounds, and 10 assists. That is a career high for Nikola Jokic, that's 61 points. You even had CNN write an article on that night for Jokic. And the loss, as it comes, Russ would get – and really the loss happened by really like one possession. It came with Russ. Russ had got a steal off of Anthony Edwards. He drove down to the lane, and it's actually pretty asinine when you look at it. I really wish we could. I mean, I might be able to get some video here in a second, but he went on the steal, missed the layup, and he fouled Nikhil Walker on a 3. And me looking at it, I don't think it was really a 3 though. What do you think?
I mean, I think that the biggest thing to pick out of here is Russell Westbrook passed the ball. That's the biggest thing. I think that in past years he was still trying to re-solidify himself, and I think that just since he's been able to kind of rework his spot in the NBA with the Nuggets, obviously he's not back to prime Thunder form. But he's still able to contribute, and I think that, I mean, either way, you got to make that shot. It wasn't a very favorable shot, especially if you have space to work inside. But if you're Nikhil, and that's just, I think that's in the end not a big issue for the Timberwolves on that regard. But I think that there's a lot to prove for both sides here in terms of the MVP conversation. I think that Jokic really. It's obviously always tough because SGA has been incredible all year, but I think that the things that Jokic does are more dominant than SGA, and I think that he can be a bigger problem on the scoreboard and on the boards. He can pass the ball maybe not as good as SGA, but he's a great facilitator on the court. So I think I think Jokic should be the MVP.
Yeah, so Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's odds moved from minus 5,000, which he was probably a heavy favorite, to minus 2,500, which he's still a heavy favorite, but Jokic making that kind of shift of an impact in one night, that really says a lot. And here goes the actual play that Russ had, made down the stretch, in the closing seconds.
Gordon is there, and he threw it away. It's a turnover, 2-on-1. Brown, Westbrook, no! Rebound Alexander Walker. Final seconds. Here we go. Conley the other way. Edwards looks at the clock. Drives. Feeds. Forwards.
They got a foul.
They got
a foul on the three-point shot.
It's a foul on the three-point shot.
His face is all of us combined. I think I have a slow-mo. Let me see if I can see if was that a foul?
I mean, I didn't get to. It was really close. Let's look at it again.
Westbrook was there. It was a three-point try. The foul.
I mean, he hits the hand. He does have a place to land, so that's not where you're going to get your foul from. And I think that's a foul, and I think that's just on Westbrook, just maybe getting a little bit of a head of steam.
Let me see it again.
Westbrook was there. It was a three-point try. The foul.
He's not totally parallel. He's closing out from pretty much at the basket. It looks like it's a foul. That looks like the right call.
Yeah, as I've seen it a little more, the closeout was reckless. He didn't really close out to where he was like, he tried going to the left of him. I can see where he can make the case and say that's a foul, and Mike Malone probably was speechless. But you could really see him going to the left, and I can see him probably bump hips together maybe. In the landing space, it's hard to say, though, because when you look at Nikhil Walker's foot going forward.
Westbrook was there. It was a three-point try.
I didn't really see a lot of contact, though. So, I mean, that's
it's a tough play, especially at the end of the game like that. Especially with the magnitude of the game.
So after the game, Westbrook had left the arena before Denver locker room was open to the media. So you already know he feels terrible. He feels like, he's a passionate guy. He plays with his heart on his sleeve. So he's going to get all of the backlash now because it happened in the closing seconds. But what to me it shouldn't even went to double overtime. Like they should have closed that out in the first overtime. There's so many plays you could say throughout the entire game to where you think about, okay, maybe we did this wrong, or maybe we should have done this a little better. You're going to always, when they watch film, they're going to see if they can take something away from this game to see. And Nuggets, Mike Malone had obviously said in his media availability after the game, he said, obviously, I feel awful for us that last play, we get the turnover, we don't convert, and then the foul. It was not from a lack of effort or care on his part. But sometimes it goes like that, and that's why we've just got to be strong. We've got to be resilient.
Yeah, and I'm not that's not a season-altering game. That was a hard-played game on both sides, and I think when you really look at that last play, the reason that it blew up was because you had 4 people close out on the driver, and which I get it. It's down to the final moments, but you got to be able to still account for every player on the basketball court, and you still had Jokic down there ready for him. He was getting a little passed up, but you get a little bit of help from that right side, and maybe you're okay. That's 2 people on the driver, but that means that there's 3 other people who should be watching over the other 4 guys, and obviously that's no easy task either. But I mean, there's just a smart pass, and that's what it came down to. Whether it was a foul or not, I think that. I mean, it's obviously if you would have made that shot, that would have probably blown the roof off the place. But I mean, it's basketball.
Yeah, so we're not even talking about Aaron Gordon having 30 points and 8 rebounds. He hit 4 triples, so that was pretty, convincing to see as well. And Westbrook played 38 minutes, so it looked like he's getting the trust of his team. They're gonna stick beside him, and pretty sure they're gonna be all right. Jokic has spoke on it. He was asked to speak on Russ. He was like, "Why? It happened. It's basketball. I'm pretty sure he didn't want to foul. It happens." That's exactly what he said. So it's basketball.
Yeah, and I'll just add that I think that Russell Westbrook is going to be a more important factor in the playoffs than people will lead on. Obviously, he's got so much experience, and he's going to need to be able to kind of bring this team up with him, which obviously, I mean, you look at it, they already won the NBA Finals. Jokic is a star, but I think that in order to kind of be able to carry that momentum forward, he has to step up, and he's going to need to step up in a big way for this team, especially with how tough the West is.
Oh, yeah, indeed. And then you got the mutual respect from Anthony Edwards. He said in his media availability after the game, he said Nikola Jokic might be the best player he's ever seen. Well, I think we can all speak to that for right now. I mean, obviously, you take that with a grain of salt because when you talk about Michael Jordan, you talk about Larry Bird, and then you got LeBron James and all of those cats. You obviously take that with a grain of salt, but he's not really like he's not lying though. He might be the best big we've ever seen. He's challenging Shaq right now.
He also might be the best 3/4 court shot player ever too. He just kind of lofts it up and then it's a swish every time. And I really don't get it. And I mean it's fun to watch. I'm good with it though.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, a big that can pass, rebound, and assist. I mean, that's something special. So Gildress, obviously, like I said
During a
again,
Taco Bell commercial, right?
right, right. So like I said again, SGA odds moved from -5,000 to -2,500. Jokic shifted from +1,500 to +1,000 in just that one night. So we're going to jump into a little bit of baseball. We're going to look at the champs. They're making a historic run. The Los Angeles Dodgers had defeated the Atlanta Braves 6-5 on Wednesday. And of course, it comes in crazy fashion that on his first bobblehead night, that Shohei Ohtani, walk-off homer to win the game and make them go into the history books as the only World Series champion to begin 8-0 in all of Major League history. So, of course, it's always a story. It's always a freaking storybook with Shohei Ohtani. Am I right? Like,
yeah, you think the media outlets picked that up quick enough?
yeah.
I think I got 17 different notifications about it right after it happened, and I mean he's a global superstar, so it makes sense to be able to cover him at the level they are, and it's a great team, and this is a team that from 1 to 9 in the batting lineup, and from 1 to maybe 9 in the pitching department, they're going to be able to go after you. This is competing with some of those Yankees teams from the late 90s, early 2000s as one of the best, probably talent-wise, baseball teams of all time.
Yeah, oh yeah, we could always say that. I mean, they're trying to make a quest for 162-0. I mean, obviously that's most likely not going to happen, but I want to say that Dave Roberts. They talk about Dave Roberts is the best. Probably what is he like one of the best managers in the MLB history and things like that. I'm like, you can't really say that. Look at the teams he's had. The teams he's had. I mean, were literally some of the best teams we have ever seen assemble. Like this is starting to look like LeBron and the Heat. They were supposed to win, though during those times when LeBron was with the Heat and D Wade and Bosh and them back in 2014 and things like that.
Well, that's what I'm going to add to that is like you look at this team and then you look at a team like the Guardians who has like a fifth of their spendings and they're finishing 10 to 15 games behind them pretty consistently in past years and really getting the most out of guys that they're not paying a whole lot of money to. So I think that you just have to look at the fact that I think their overall talent is going to be their floor, and their ceiling obviously is the World Series. We saw it last year. In terms of doing it again, it's always very difficult, but I mean, they have enough to do it, and they have enough to, I think, possibly go and win at least 115 games, 110 games.
They'll probably have the best. I can see it. I mean, I don't really see a team that can really beat them in a 3-4 game series. I mean, the Chicago Cubs are pretty good right now. When the Dodgers play the Yankees, they'll be pretty. They'll be probably ready for the task, even though they've dropped like 2 of their last 3. You look at the Brewers as well. They're starting to get hot again. They won a series just now against the Kansas City Royals, so they're going to most likely be there. Then obviously the Phillies, but like I said, when you look at that rotation that they got and the lineup they have, I mean, it's going to be pretty hard for them to, really lose a series like that. Let's take a look at his walk-off homer if we can get some video.
Shohei Ohtani on his bobblehead night.
I mean, good for him, man. Right?
Right.
He's a superstar. He's one of the most dynamic players we have ever seen, and we probably ever will see. And I mean, those are moments that that LA is kind of built for at this point.
I mean, yeah. I mean, when you've seen Dodger Stadium. It was rocking. It probably was one of the best environments you could be in, especially because they had gave away his first bobblehead night of the season. And then going trying to chase a record, that ticket was probably very expensive to even just to sit in the nosebleeds. It probably cost you a couple $100. So I want to get into what Dave Roberts said after the game. He was asked, "Do you think the team could go 162-0?" He said, "Although that's probably impossible, but we feel like we can do it." He said, "Each night we take the field, I feel like we're going to win." Well, when you have Otani, you have Freddie Freeman, you got Mookie Betts, even a small Mookie Betts who's lost 20 pounds in Tokyo. He's still hitting homers. He has 4 homers already.
Yeah, and those guys, they're going to have power, I'd say, probably all the way down to the 7-hitter at that rate. Because, I mean, the one thing that a lot of people don't talk about is Max Muncy and his ability to just work really long pitch counts. That dude will follow off about 5 or 6 pitches, and I mean he's not always he's a power bat, so he can give you that home run, but he's gonna help you draw walks and extend games. And really, for a team like this, I mean that's all you really need. If you got to waste 8 to 9 pitches on Max Muncy and he only hits them gets to hit a quarter of the time, that's probably a win for most teams, or at least for the Dodgers when you got all the other stars, Mookie, Freddie, Shohei, all those guys.
Yeah, I mean, and then when you look at their bench as well, just look at the bullpen even. Tanner Scott, they got Padres last season. You got Kirby Yates, who was with the Texas Rangers as well. So a team that won 100+ games and went on to win the World Series in dominating fashion, and they got better. That it's most likely going to be a repeat. So we can look at the standings.
I think that they're.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, you're good. I think they're going to get better, and here's why. I think that the Twins are going to have to trade Byron Buxton, and I don't know if there's going to be anybody who's going to be able to offer them a better package than the Dodgers. The Dodgers really need a center fielder. They got Andy Pages working there right now. I mean, you can stick like a Tommy Edman in there as a utility guy, but they're not going to do that. They value him as that player. So I think that they're going to probably work in for a Buxton or try and pick up another center fielder at the deadline and really solidify the full roster and hopefully avoid the injury bug. I mean, that was the thing last year with pitching. They were a little concerned about that. They obviously have the depth that they can still compete if they lose a few arms, but I'm still interested to see what a full body of work for Otani looks like on the pitcher's side of things, because I don't think that he's going to necessarily get the innings that other superstars would.
Yeah, I can agree with that as well. Let's take a look at what the standings look like, even though it's 9-10 games in. And there you go. What stands out the most to me is that Dodgers the Padres are 7-0. That's pretty impressive as well.
Well, Jalen, you're a Chicago guy. They picked up Gavin Sheets, and he's been a monster so far.
Oh yeah, I was a Chicago guy, but not a White Sox guy. That's my dad.
That's about. I mean, he was kind of dreadful on the White Sox, and to be able to kind of make his way over to San Diego and start raking, I don't know if he's going to keep it up, but I think that a lot of Sox fans on the South Side are kicking themselves right now.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of South Side. Even Yohan Moncada, if you look at the Angels, he's got off to a hot start too. So you if you're a Sox fan, you're like, what the what the heck? So was actually another surprising thing is that the Braves are 0-7. They got swept by the Padres and they got swept by the Dodgers. So that is actually, and they only have 14 runs scored total throughout the entire season.
Yeah, the offense has been dreadful, and they finally were able to get something going in that last Dodgers game, putting up 5. But before that, it was their top players, Riley, Harris, Albies. Those guys were hitting around 400 OPS, and that is not how you're going to make it through the season. Do I think that's going to be sustainable? Probably not. I think that I don't think Michael Harris is going to stay at that level. I think Austin Riley can still go and bat at least 290 this year. And Albies, he's going to be able to provide as well. And the biggest hit is just going to be making sure that your pitching doesn't get totally annihilated, because that's how they're going to be able to keep themselves in games. I mean, Marcell Ozuna is still swinging the bat pretty well so far, and that's the funny thing is there's some guys that you can never really tell how they're going to age, and Marcell Ozuna has probably aged better than a lot of guys who were around in his prime. So I think that's still a good pickup for them, and it'll just be interesting. I think they'll turn it around. It'll be very tough to, though, compete with the top of that division, though.
Yeah, I mean, when you get Ronald Acuna to come back as well, once he slides back into the lineup, it's going to be probably a totally different offense. They're just missing their superstar, and when they'll probably be in the hunt at the deadline. So they'll probably end up picking up a bat or maybe some pitching as well. Chris Sale is looked about average, even though he threw very well against the Dodgers. Toward the back end of his start, the Dodgers found a way to, obviously become the Dodgers again. So LA leads the entire MLB with 18 homers. The Yankees lead with 19 homers. The Dodgers have 18. The Cubs have 14, and the A's. Yeah, the Athletics actually have 11 homers in the first 4 or 5 games. So it might end up being that torpedo bat that we talk about. Let's see. We're probably going to jump into. We probably lost Drew for a second, but like I was saying, when it comes down to baseball as well, the NL Central is going to be probably one of the most toss-ups in the country. When you think about it, the Brewers are, they won 2 out of 3 out of their last 3 games when they played the Royals. And the Royals are no slouch. They're really not a sloucher of a team. When you look at NL Central, then you got the NL West, like I just showed you, to bring it up again. The Padres are 7-0. The Giants are 5-1. The Diamondbacks are 4-2. Obviously, the Rockies are 1-4. I mean, that's going to be tough for them as well, because I don't really think they have a bona fide star that they can actually go on to or lean on. I mean, you got Ezekiel Tovar, and then you got Doyle as well, and then Chris Bryant. But you can't really, count on Chris Bryant to really be there for them, because he's not really that healthy. He can't stay healthy. So I'm going to try to get Drew back on here in a second. But when you think about, and then when you look at the NL East, NL East, you got the Phillies at 4-1. What's really surprising to me is the Miami Marlins. They're 4-3. They've started the season 3-0, and they had 3 straight walk-off wins, which was pretty impressive in my opinion. I could say it was pretty impressive. So, we got Drew back. No, not yet. Do we? No, we don't. So I'm gonna give you another rundown as well. We got the New York Mets that are 3-3. Oh, there he is. Welcome.
I'm back. Hopefully it stays. Test run of all the equipment. So.
Oh yeah. It's first day. We're gonna have some kinks and some blunders here and there, but I was just giving them a rundown of the NL East and the NL West. That was surprising is the Miami Marlins. They started the season with 3 straight walk-off wins, and the Rockies don't. Or the Rockies are going to probably stay there. I mean, they don't really have a bona fide star. They do, which is Chris Bryant, but he can't really stay healthy as much. So that's what I was saying with that.
Yeah, and I mean the West is the other thing. I mean, obviously minus the Rockies, I think that all those teams can compete, especially if the Giants can find some power. That could be something that could really, I think they have the chance to hop one of these teams and maybe finish in that 3rd place spot if they can be consistent. It's obviously, that's the toughest division in baseball, in my opinion. But there's obviously a lot of baseball to be had, and we'll see how it plays out.
Yes, let's see how that definitely plays out. So we're going to jump into one of our last topics before final thoughts. We're going to hit on the NCAA Naismith Award. Final Fours start Friday. You got the women's side. You have Texas versus South Carolina, and then you have UConn versus UCLA. And then on the men's side, you have Houston versus Duke, and then you have Auburn versus Florida. So we're going to jump into the Naismith Awards that Juju Watkins. That's it. Juju Watkins was the recipient for the NCAA women's side. She had tore her ACL in the second round versus Mississippi State. It's kind of a hurtful thing for women's basketball because you probably won't have her at all of next season. Hopefully she could come back towards the end. ACL injuries are starting to become, they're starting to be able to recover faster from them, and hopefully she can come back because she's obviously going to be the face of women's basketball next season for college. So she averaged 23 and then she averaged 24 points per game. She had averaged 7 rebounds on 42.6% shooting, which is like 43%. So that's pretty impressive when you average 24 and shoot 43% from the field.
Yeah, and I mean it's someone that you have to have eyes on at all times. You can't let Juju Watkins get away from you, and that was evident this year. And I mean, to be able to put up that sort of stat line in college basketball is difficult in its own right. And I mean, that was a team that was really pushing pretty hard in the tournament as well. And I mean, to lose Juju Watkins in that spot is it's detrimental when you lose a star like that for any team, especially in the late stretches of the season where you feel like they make a real big impact.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because you got Paige Beckers, who was supposed to be the face of women's college basketball, and obviously when she tore her ACL, that kind of reigned and switched to Caitlin Clark. And you can make the case for both of them to who's better, it's like a LeBron and Michael Jordan debate. Who's better? Who's the GOAT? But she's one of the greatest basketball players of women we have ever seen, and I'm going to down that horse that Caitlin Clark is probably the best women's basketball player I've ever seen. Now, I did watch Maya Moore when I was little. I did see highlights of Cheryl Swoops, Cheryl Miller, seeing the highlights of those women. You had, Elena Deladon when she was with the Chicago Sky. Also seen, Diana Taurasi with Phoenix Mercury as well. So she had a lot of names out there as well. But Tamika Catchings, for the organization that she's in, obviously when you come to viewership and when you think about basketball, women's basketball, you really much think of Caitlin Clark at the moment. But
yeah, and I think that there's a lot of, now that we're starting to see major media cover this side WNBA a little bit more, I think that's where you start seeing a lot of those trying to find a star moments, and every sport has them. Everyone does when they're starting to kind of really take off from a national perspective. And just Caitlin Clark, obviously a fun player, makes crazy shots, and really is someone who can drive. Obviously, there was a little bit of issue in the beginning with just making sure that she could play strongly at that level, but she figured it out and really helped turn that team around in a way. And this is another person that really changed the game, honestly. And I think that there's a lot of respect that goes with that, but obviously everybody in that league is a competitor. So he's going to give it to her nicely.
When you look at, when you talk about competitiveness and, relentless workhorse, you think about Angel Reese, obviously, with the offensive rebounds. Yes, she misses a lot of layups and she rebounds and puts her own shots in, but you can't really, you can't say her effort isn't there. I mean, she's constantly always on the glass, and it's impressive actually that she can rebound the basketball at that kind of a level, especially on the offensive end too. So we're going to look at the men's side. Cooper Flagg is leading the men right now, minus 190. Broom is right there with him. Joe Nye Broom, he's plus 195. And we can look at the 4 finalists as well. You got Walter Clayton as well, and then you got Braden Smith from Purdue, which is, pretty good for the Big Ten. If you think about it, that the Big Ten has another finalist from Purdue. Zach Edey won it 2 times in a row. Well, last season and the year before that. And now you have a Braden Smith in the finalists as well for the Naismith Player of the Year. Purdue recruits well. It looks like Purdue has a lot of talent and good, development there.
Yeah, and well, it's probably the only good thing about March for the Big Ten is looking forward to this Naismith because they did not do well in the tournament, and I think that was kind of something that was to be expected. They just, other than, you thought that maybe Purdue could make a run or Michigan State could possibly get past Auburn, but that stuff didn't happen, and it was kind of an underwhelming season for the Big Ten, and especially in the postseason.
Oh yeah, you got Walter Clayton who's hitting crazy shots as well. It's a pretty good thing for the Big Ten to have Michigan State there as well. I'm going to go down on that hill and say that they should have beaten Auburn. It's kind of hard to really think about when they were supposed to take care of business, but they didn't end up doing that because I knew it was going to happen, that their shooting was going to come back to haunt them. They didn't shoot the ball well at all in that game. They had a lot of wide open looks and it did not really, hit a lot of. They really couldn't hit water. It was a tough one for me being a Michigan State fan. Obviously Dream College. So yeah, and then you got Braden Smith obviously right there. He averaged 15.8 a game on 8.7 assists, and he shot 43% for the field as well. That's we look at players of the year. That's kind of what they do. They have practically double doubles they're averaging. And then when you look at Walter Clayton, he as well led them from he came from Iona and then he led Florida all the way to the Final Four, which is impressive. Flag, obviously, he averaged 19 points a game, has 7.5 rebounds. He had 4.2 assists as well, 48% shooting, which is even wilder. And then Jonai Broom had 18, averaged 19, actually. And then he averaged 11 rebounds on 51.2% shooting. So you can see why there's the 1 and 2 at the top right there.
Yeah. And I really think that this, if he played a full season, this is outright Cooper Flag's award. And it's not even any of his fault of his own. He missed a few games. That's going to happen at this level. And I think that's someone who is far and away the most talented player in the NCAA right now. And he's someone who I think will make a tremendous impact at the next level pretty much immediately. And that's not just me saying it. That's other NBA players who have been in the gym with him and have seen him play and have talked through his process. I think that everybody is well aware of what he's capable of.
Oh yeah, of course. When you look at the number 1 pick, he has all the intangibles and obviously he has all of the metrics, right? So you got a couple teams probably, they're not going to say they're tanking, but you got a couple teams tanking to try to go get him. Like that's like 3 or 4 organizations. My organization, the Utah Jazz, trying our best to not trying to lose games, but be competitive as well and trying to find our franchise player. We have Lauri Markkanen, who's a franchise player, but you look at Lauri Markkanen, when they key in on just him, it's who's the other person you're going to go to. You got Keontae George, but he hasn't been really shooting the ball as great. He had a lot of problems with turnovers this season. You got Isaiah Collier, who has a lot of upside as well. He's going to probably be the guard of the future because he can facilitate the offense, and he broke the rookie assist record, passing John Stockton, that held for 40 years. So you're probably looking for that one last piece guy. We're missing Taylor Hendricks as well, but when you're looking for that one last guy to take you over the hump, and I believe Cooper Flag to the Jazz I think they could be a playing team or a playoff team next season if they were able to land Cooper Flag. He's that big of a difference.
Yeah, I feel like Cooper Flag is going to really make an impact on whatever team he ends up on. And it's tough to say right now. I don't know if it'll be the Jazz who end up with Cooper Flag, but there's a lot of teams that are still in that area and could obviously the lottery is the lottery. It's a little bit different than what other leagues experience. There's a very good possibility that there is a team that is much better than the number one pick will show that could end up with Cooper Flag and turn it around pretty quickly. But I don't think that I don't know if it's really have no idea until the lottery happens. So I think that no matter where he goes, he's going to make an impact.
Oh yeah, I mean wherever he goes, they're gonna change a lot. They're thinking for the future because they're gonna instantly be that good of a team. So we're going to probably end that there. We're going to jump right into final thoughts. This was a quick episode. We did not have Nolan Kapolowski on today. We're definitely going to get him on here as well. And tomorrow we got a live podcast with Nazir and Sam. So that should be fun. And, you should, put the noties on and get ready for our live. But let's get some final thoughts here.
Yeah, and I didn't get to talk about this before because my internet crapped out on me.
Right.
But
the
torpedo bats, I don't think they're a very big problem. That there's a lot of people who are bringing these things up, and just from everything that I've read, perfectly legal. And I think that if it was outright, especially with the Yankees, if it was outright a better bat, then why wouldn't Aaron Judge be swinging it? I can see the argument of obviously it's a different feel, and for some people it might take an entire offseason to adjust to it. But really, all that this bat is, it's giving a little bit more heft towards the logo on the bat for people who typically hit the ball on the inside a little bit more, like Anthony Volpe or Jazz Chisholm. So I think if you look at from that side of things, like the torpedo bats did not stop Aaron Judge from crushing several home runs against the Brewers. And I mean, there's people who are finding benefits from it, and that's just, I guess, at this point, part of the game until they make a huge difference. And I mean, it's obviously been a interesting topic of conversation for the start of this season, but I don't know if that's necessarily going to be the end all be all, the torpedo bats. I think that that's something that's going to help a few players do really well, but for someone who doesn't really understand, if someone's not hitting the ball in that spot, it's not really much of a use for them.
Of course, yeah, you could definitely look at that. Just look at, like, obviously I'm a Cubs guy, and look at Dansby Swanson and look at Nico Horner. Nico Horner, had 2 hits last night or yesterday, and then Dansby Swanson hitting, like I said on the pod on Tuesday, Dansby hitting a 418-foot homer at one of the biggest ballparks in all of baseball, one of them, top 5, in the Arizona Diamondback Stadium, Chase Field. So it's like, when he's hitting 400-footers, and he hits a lot of, he's more of a contact guy. He hits a lot of the inside of the bat and where the stick is, and trying to get on base, because that's just his game. He's not a power guy. But when you talk about the torpedo bat, it puts more wood to where he hits it. And look what happens when you put more wood to where you hit the ball. It
and it's not illegal. It's not anything that's illegal. And all the guy who created the bat followed all the proper metrics. I don't think that it's going to be something that they're going to be able to change. And I think that if it was outright a better bat, then it would have probably been taken off the shelf already. But they're letting it play, and it's honestly probably going to be good for baseball in the end. They're trying to drive offense, and however you can provide that offense within a safe and legal manner, that's the way that they're going to allow things to roll.
I can agree with that. Yeah, I wish I had the torpedo bat when I was playing. I guarantee you, I would probably sign somewhere. So
I would have been the king of like ground ball doubles into the gap. That would have been. I don't have quite the power, but that would have been pretty fun to swing.
Like everybody you see my shirt, national runner-up. I would definitely probably sign somewhere. But all right, let's go. We're gonna jump into our final thoughts really quickly, so we can head up out of here and get you all, get you out of here.
Yeah, and like I said, the other thing, and since you brought it up, Dansby Swanson is getting paid a lot of money. He's going to be someone that the Cubs, I'm sure, are hoping is going to be more worth it moving forward. They threw a lot of money at him. And it's not like he's been a horrible player, but he has not been the multi-million-dollar guy like they've paid him to be. And it's looking like it's a good start so far. And really, when I look at this division, I still think it's the Cubs that are gonna run away with it. I don't think the Brewers got objectively better. I don't think the Pirates are there yet. I don't know that the Reds are the outlier there. I think there's a very real scenario where the Brewers end up in 4th but I also feel like there's a real scenario where it could be the Pirates or the Reds. I don't think the Cubs will finish any further than third. Very worst, and that would take a lot of things falling apart. I think they have the pitching to do it, and it's all about the bats and how much of an impact guys like Kyle Tucker can make. We'll see. Brian Presley can make a difference, but I think it's the Cubs division to lose just based on what they bring to the table in terms of talent.
Yeah, I was thinking that as well. When you talk about the Kyle Tucker effect, right? He's hit 4 straight homers in 4 straight games. His effect already. I'm gonna die on the hill. Like, if you add Bellinger to that lineup, they could be a World Series contender. Seriously, because everybody asked me, where would you put Bush then? Who are you going to get rid of? Seiya or Tucker? Or you're not getting rid of none of those guys. You're not, because you could throw Bush at third. He came up in the system with the Dodgers as a third baseman. I'm going to constantly say it. He came up into the system he came into the system as a third baseman or second baseman, one of the two, with the Dodgers. He played infield. He can play those infield positions. You could throw, and Bellinger already said that he would be fine with playing first base. So he would have played at first. So you would have had a 1 through 6 lineup that could have really been one of the best 6 hitters of all of baseball. Ian Happ, a switch hitter who's really turned it up last year by being a leadoff man. We didn't know how that was going to go. Second, you can put a Dansby Swanson there, or you can put a Pete Crow there if he starts to get better. Nico Horner, the second spot could be put with anybody. Then you can have the third spot with maybe you throw Bellinger there, and then you put Kyle Tucker at 4. Then you got Seiya at 5. Like, when you have that kind of depth to work with, you would have been a dangerous team. And I'm going to go to the hill with that. So.
Yeah, and I'd love to add to that, but this is going to be the first time we have breaking news on the show. We're going to get your live reaction to this. Tyrese Maxey expected to miss the rest of the season with that finger tendon injury, as reported by Shams. Obviously, the Sixers, as we knew, were pretty much down and out of it. But I think that this is the nail in the coffin.
Wow, that's actually kind of crazy, to think about. So we got a breaking news ticker here: Maxey out for the season. Wow. It's only 3-4 games left if you think about it. Maybe 5.
Yeah,
6.
for them, I don't think it really is gonna be. If they were still in a hunt, I feel like that would be possibly a factor. But they're not. They're pretty down and out. And it's Tyrese Maxey. It's going to be a big loss for their final few games. But in the grand scheme of the season, they are not in a position to compete anymore. So I think that this is the right decision to kind of just shut them down and get ready for next year.
Yeah, I think that might be a good move. Joel Embiid, obviously, they said yesterday that he was going to have surgery as well. So, that's they're probably just throwing in a towel. And they obviously should have a long time ago because they already eliminated. So, but yeah. So we're going to jump into our final thoughts. And you had something for us?
Final thoughts. Let's see.
Did you have that book?
I'll start. So for final thoughts. Sorry, what was that?
You had that book that you wanted that trivia thing you wanted to show?
Oh, yeah. Here we go. All right. We're going to do 3 of these. So I got this book that I found in my closet. It's 2015 Who's Who in Baseball. And I'm going to open to a random page, give a couple of pieces of information about a player from the 2015 season, and Jalen is going to try and figure out who it is. There are a lot of random names in here, so it might be very difficult. So we'll have you let's do 3 clues. It's like we'll try and see how little you can use, but we'll go like position, team, and then maybe something else of your request. So just give me a number between 1 and 355, and we'll get started.
Go 4 first. Favorite number.
Page 4. Might favor you to know that this is in alphabetical order. I'm pretty confident. And on page 4, all right, we'll go. There's 2 guys on here. Do you want the older or younger guy?
Let's go to younger guy first.
All right, younger guy. All right, so for his position, first base, and this will be an easy one. He was playing for the White Sox.
You said 2015, right?
2015.
Jose Abreu?
It was Jose Abreu.
Yes.
It was he was coming up on his second season after batting .317 as a rookie that year. Technically was not a pro rookie, played in Cuba for many years, but
Right.
that's the first one. All right, new page.
We'll go 115.
115. Here we go. There's a lot of fun names in here. All right. There's one really easy one on this page, so I'm going to get you the other one. So this is going to be this one might be tough for you. All right, he is a shortstop, kind of a utility third base, second base, shortstop type of guy. Plays for the Mariners.
Third base utility guy from the Mariners in 2015.
Came up as a shortstop, played a little bit of second and third once he got to the pros. It's gonna be a tough one. I'm not gonna lie.
It wasn't Eugenio Suarez.
I'll also add this would have been 2015 would have been his third year in the majors.
Wow.
So as a young guy.
Yeah, I'm mind blown on that. I don't even know that one.
No worries. It was a tough one. It's Brad Miller.
Brad Miller.
Brad Miller. He had been coming off a season where he batted .221 in 367 at bats. It was his first season with more than 75 games played. So that was a tough one. We'll see what we come with the third one. It was really easy, really hard one. Hopefully we get a more fun one here.
All right, go ahead.
All right.
Let's say 150.
150. Here we go.
Wow. Computer died on us. So I'm going to just end the show here. I'm going to say follow our podcast on socials. It'll be the link. It'll be in the description. We'll be posting polls, question boxes, and you can always DM us on things you'd like to have answered, comments you may have, or anything like that. Our live podcast will be tomorrow at 12 with me, Nazir, and Sam. You all will finally meet Nazir tomorrow. And I'm really looking forward to that one. And there'll be some different kind of topics we'll be talking about tomorrow as well. It won't be, let's just say it won't be just sports we'll do as well. So that'll do it for us. Make sure you like, share, and comment on and subscribe. Hit the notification bell on the YouTube side. Hit the notification bell for us and give us a follow. And, we'll see you soon and we'll see you tomorrow for this edition of Shot of Sports. And, we'll see you tomorrow. Take care.